his statement, and I now give the floor to the leader of the National Federation Party. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Carbon emissions trading schemes are known to be efficient schemes, private sector led. But I think some of the points that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition raised are important. There are important issues with respect to the agreement. We need to understand what are the details of the agreement. And I know the Honourable Attorney General alluded to the climate change bill, because that bill will actually embed the domestic laws that will determine how the agreement is put into effect. And we must also understand that World Bank, Mr. Speaker, does not always have a very good record. I mean, I remember in 2015, there was this whole scandal about, how communities were dispossessed with respect to how the agreements were put in place. So while we want to use all the tools to achieve the NDC commitments, we have to ensure that those who are going to provide the resources have the agreement which is properly in place, so that they are not dispossessed or they don't lose out. Because there have been cases around the world, and World Bank is not always the best guide to actually do that. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, that's all I have to say on that. But while I have time, I just want to respond to the Honourable Attorney General, because he couldn't help respond to what I said yesterday. And I think basic understanding of economics, Mr. Speaker, will tell the Honourable Minister for Economy that when I talked about creating demand, it was not just talking about consumption. I can understand the idea behind reducing tariffs in the last budget. But, Mr. Speaker, when people don't have the money, when they don't have the income, when they have lost their jobs, when they are earning less than what they should be earning, reduction in tariffs are not going to help. And the point I was making, that when you have a crisis, in fact, Minister Reddy, maybe should give a economic lesson to people on the other side. When we have a crisis of this nature, Mr. Speaker, where demand is a big issue, you ought to look at health, you ought to look at education, you ought to look at income support for those who do not have the income. Let me give you an example, Mr. Speaker. I mean, if you look at the tourism industry, for example, 80% of the employment generation, 80% of the employment generation, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the National Federation Party, you should speak to the topic that
it is related to that, Mr. Speaker. It is related to that. The Honourable Attorney General, I have my time. I want to respond to that because it is important to that. It is important to that.
Order. Honourable, it's probably related to that, but you're taking quite a while coming around to it. So please get on with it.
Mr. Speaker, that's unparliamentary language. Unparliamentary language.
You have the floor. You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, basic understanding of economics will tell the Honourable Minister for Economy, if you are trying to help communities, they have to be supported through income support. And I said, the three pillars on which our policy right now, this is three pillars on which our policy is going to help us recover from this crisis is education, health, and income support. I mean, we can bring this bill, we can bring this agreement to say, okay, we are doing things on the side to help people, to get income support through carbon emissions trading. That's fine. But right now, Mr. Speaker, we need to hear from the Minister for Economy a very, very well-planned, recovery plan to ensure that we are dealing with the crisis in an efficient and an effective manner. So, Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General should not play politics. Politics is not always about elections. Politics doesn't always have to be about winning an argument. Politics must also be used to do good for our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the leader of the National Federation Party for his contribution. Honourable members, we will move on. Secretary General.